Across the cryptosphere, there are many influential people, but there is only one influential person that can save us, and his name is Donald John Trump. What is Trump doing? He was asked about the pardon. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on at the White House with Trump and the pardon of CZ, and talking about telling reporters they don't know shit about crypto. Is Trump getting ready to pump the markets? We're going to talk about that. We have Forrest joining us today. He's got an interesting outlook and something that's happening in TradFi. We'll get his take on that. I published David's advice to making money in crypto. I'll break that down and kind of go into more detail. We're also going to talk a little bit about Solana, talk about BitTensor, and JP Morgan Chase, what they're looking to do with Bitcoin and crypto. We have that and much, much more on today's episode of Sin City Crypto. Gina, roll the intro. What's that? No Rob today. Maybe he'll sneak in later. We don't know yet. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. You know, it's funny. I had a couple people yesterday reach out to me and said, "Hey, I saw your show. You and Rob got a little heated at the end. Is everything okay?" I'm like, bro, Rob and I, we can yell at each other. We can curse each other out on the show. And then once we're done, the cameras are off. Like, hey, man, maybe we should tune it down a little bit. All right, cool. Yeah, perfect. All right, what are we getting for lunch? So to all of you that are worried, everything's fine, I promise. They're probably like, oh, they had a fight yesterday. Rob's not here today. Everything's good. Again, Rob will probably joining us a little bit later, but we have the man himself joining us. It's none other than Forrest. I don't know what's up with me today, but Forrest, welcome. We missed you the last few Fridays, man. We hope you're doing well. Before I jump in, Forrest, before I jump into the news and the market and stuff, what's your sentiment on where crypto is now? And then what's kind of been your strategy over the last maybe month or so, or maybe even from the 10th of October where we had that massive liquidation across the derivatives exchanges?
Yeah, I got by that liquidation. As you already know, I've told you that, but fortunately not a significant part of my portfolio was there. But yeah, that was just such an insane move that I took I wouldn't say a paper cut, but I took a cut to my portfolio. But that's why you don't keep everything on leverage, and that's why you don't keep everything on an exchange. Still had a ton of crypto in cold storage, the vast majority of it. And then obviously, you know, gold, silver, and any legacy parts of my portfolio completely unaffected. But yeah, it's kind of forced me to play a little bit more defensive. I think crypto's in a very polarized spot right now. I think it could go into a bear market right now and people would be like, oh yeah, it kind of makes sense. We had our typical cycle. It didn't go as high as people thought it did, but that's just because there was tons of scams, tons of extraction. And then I think we could see a blow off top from here and people would, you know, it wouldn't be that surprising. Oh, we have rate cuts. We've got QT ending, QE starting. They're going to rev up the printer again. So I think it's a very polarized 50-50 spot. I think you can make an argument for either. So when I don't feel like I have a very strong edge in the market, it's best to kind of just revert to being, you know, diversified across things that I am bullish on long term. So for me, that's like gold, silver, XRP, and you know, a few other things, but not in any crazy trades right now at the moment.
Yeah, I also lost money during that liquidation event on Friday. I know a lot of our community members did as well. But to Forrest's point, you know, it sounds so cliche, but we talk about all the time, risk management, don't have all your funds in one place. It's for exact reasons like that. And even if you're a big leverage trader, like realistically, if you're a serious investor, in my opinion, you shouldn't have more than 20% of your capital in any sort of, that's probably a little too high too. Say 10 to 15% of your entire kind of allocation to the crypto industry, to the crypto space on exchanges or even doing like leverage trading or derivatives trading. Because stuff like this, not to that extent, but stuff like that happens where you see a lot of volatility, liquidation points, limit orders, and stop losses don't fill. and you're kind of stuck. You're like, oh shit. And if all your money's there, you're kind of shit out of luck and there's really nothing you can do. And so I took a haircut for us. I know you took a haircut as well. But we're going to bounce back, and there's still money to be made in this market, I believe. Forrest, you said 50-50. If you were to lean one way by 1 percentage point, would you lean the top is in, or would you lean there's another run coming?
I would lean that the top is maybe in-ish for Bitcoin, but some alts potentially have some potential. And I say that because there's something brewing with like crypto legislation related trades happening right now. Circle's up like 10% today. There's a lot of stocks like Coinbase is up like 8 or 9% today. XRP randomly kind of like another kind of player in that, stablecoin narrative, up like 4% today versus, Bitcoin's flat or maybe it's even red. So I think there's some stablecoin or some crypto clarity, legislation coming on down the pipeline, and then you're also seeing like some trades come through that are kind of being flagged as insider activity. There was like $3 million worth of call options for Circle purchased in their November 21st strikes with like I think 385. I'm sorry, November 21st expiration with $385 strike price, which basically means that they're going to lose $3 million if Circle doesn't like more than 3x in the next month. So if someone's betting massively on Circle just going 3x from here in a very short period of time, which is very indicative of insider information. So yeah, I think I got to lean a little bit more bullish for crypto because of that in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, for those of you that are not familiar with options, if someone has a call option, that means they are expecting the price to go up. And I know 30 days sounds, well, depends on your perspective, but to some people in options, 30 days is a long time. But realistically, in about 10 days, it'll start decaying at an infinitely growing pace until it goes all the way down to zero. And so this move needs to happen, I would argue, needs to start happening before the month is even over. And so very interesting. Is it insider info? I don't know. We do know. I continue to see on social media a lot of different senators and Congress people talking about the Clarity Act. We're close. We're pushing it, yada, yada. There was a meeting. I think it was this week, Force, earlier this week, where people like Brian Armstrong, I believe some people from like Stuart Alderodi from Ripple, they were there talking about the whole DeFi segment of this Clarity Act. And so if that comes, there's a lot of people, some of the smartest people, that have said that that is going to be the next spark for another crypto rally. I personally don't think the top is in. I think the cycle is everyone scratching their heads saying, what the hell is going on? But it's just, I don't know. For me personally, everything I'm seeing, my brain just cannot come to the conclusion that with all that is left to happen and the position we're in now, that the top is in. I can't do it. Maybe the cycle is broken. Maybe it's extended. Maybe it's a new cycle. I don't know. But what I do know and what I believe is the top for crypto is not in. So we had yesterday where it was announced that President Trump pardoned CZ from Binance. And this was, he was asked about this, and we'll take a listen. He also threw a shot at the reporter asking the question. Take a listen.
You pardoned the founder of Binance. Can you explain why you chose to pardon him, and did it have anything to do with his involvement in your
family's? Which one? Who is that?
The founder of Binance. He has an involvement in your own family's crypto business.
Yes, I believe we're talking about the same person because I do pardon a lot of people. I don't know. He was recommended by a lot of people. A lot of people say that. Are you talking about the crypto person?
He has no idea, bro. It's like, sir, we should pardon this guy. Oh, what has he done for me? Well, sir, he's a crypto guy. He's one of the most, So anyways, he goes on, is probably on 40 seconds left.
A lot of people say that he wasn't guilty of anything. He served 4 months in jail, and they say that he was not guilty of anything, that what he did, well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You fake news. But let me just tell you that he was somebody that, as I was told, I don't know him. I don't believe I've ever met him. But I've been told by a lot of support. He had a lot of support. And they said that what he did is not even a crime. It wasn't a crime, that he was persecuted by the Biden administration. And so I gave him a pardon at the request of a lot of very good people.
Forrest, what are your thoughts on that? And then very interesting, Rob posted something on our X handle yesterday, a little bit of a conspiracy. But Forrest, thoughts on CZ getting pardoned? And also, does this mean that he can go back to Binance now? And do you think he will? And then what does that mean for the markets?
No, I don't think he'll go back to Binance. I saw a tweet that was basically like, no one, I'll paraphrase it, and excuse me for kind of the explicit verbiage, but nobody should have to watch their rapist be pardoned by President Trump. And that's what tens of thousands of people that just got liquidated on Binance had to do. I mean, that's insane. Like, I don't know. I didn't see what the conspiracy theory was, but that you're referring to, but I think it's pretty obvious. I think he got pardoned because he cleaned out all the open interest in the entire space and gave it to the people in power, the insiders that knew it was coming. We saw absolutely massive shorts come in to the market right before this liquidation happened. We saw some coins go to zero. All of the open interest was cleared out. Like, they zeroed everything out. And that went into the hands of Binance and then whoever was short. Even market makers lost a ton of money because they basically bet on, the market staying somewhat in line with market structure. They expect some bounces. They buy some dips and they sell the rips. But yeah, I think this was just egregiously blatant crime, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, so I'll get to the conspiracy in a second. I do want to show this video, and this has nothing to do with crypto, but it ties into the conspiracy. So take a listen. This is Trump's about a minute-long video.
And a friend of mine, talking about donors, a friend of mine, a man that's great. I'm not going to use his name unless he lets me do it. Susie can tell you about this, but he called us the other day and he said, I'd like to contribute any shortfall you have because of the Democrat shutdown. I'd like to personally contribute any shortfall you have with the military, because I love the military and I love the country. And any shortfall, if there's a shortfall, I'll contribute it. And today he sent us a check for $130 million.
Can you share who that is?
I would love to tell you. He doesn't really want the recognition, if you want to know the truth. But he gave us a check for $130 million. And that's going to go to which was sort of a shortfall, yeah.
Okay, so, and then Rob posted this. He said, crazy thought here. Didn't CZ just get a presidential pardon today? A man with $80 billion of net worth. So he's alluding to, hey, maybe it was a tit for tat. Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Bail us out, pay the military, and I'll give you a pardon. I don't know, though, because unless Trump is like the greatest actor on planet Earth, him sitting up there, answering a question about the CZ pardon and be like, I don't know who this guy is. And all of a sudden be like, he's a great friend of mine. I don't know. Forrest, Rob can hear you. You think this is an asinine, dumb, stupid conspiracy?
No, I just don't think that I don't think they care about like the $130 million going to the military shortfall. I don't think that's why he was pardoned. I think, and this is all, I don't have proof for this, so I don't want to be, sued for slander or anything, or whatever the term is. I think somebody close to Trump, maybe in the family or in the administration, somebody that has his ear, that knows a lot about crypto, went
Eric
to
Trump.
CZ and said, "I can tell him to pardon you. I'll put in, I've got a lot of sway here. I'll tell him to pardon you, but in return, you're gonna have to crash the markets and let me get short ahead of time." Essentially, something along those lines. The people that got short ahead of this crash, like $130 million is literally, and that's going to the military, not to any insiders. Like the amount of money that was cleared out, like this was a $19 billion liquidation in the crypto market. I mean, you're talking about insiders making billions of dollars on their shorts. I mean, this is absolutely insane. I think whoever got the pardon for CZ, I don't think Trump may not know who he is. He really may not. He might have just had, the insider or whoever just say, "Hey, you should pardon this guy," and recommended it and got him pardoned because he has Trump's ear. But I think insiders just made absurd amounts of money, and this was probably one of the larger extraction events that crypto's ever seen.
It was definitely Eric Trump. If we had to pick someone, because the whole tide of World Liberty Finance and the investment Binance made, and you're seeing that USD OneCoin essentially on every large platform, including Binance, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it was definitely, I think that's more likely than CZ cut the check. Also, not to mention if CZ is, I believe he's Chinese. No, is he from Singapore? Or is he Chinese? Do we know that for us?
I always thought he was Chinese, but
Me
then
too.
maybe operated out of Singapore. But I don't know.
yeah,
I always
yeah.
thought he was Chinese.
He keeps saying he's not Chinese, he's Canadian, but I believe he's Chinese. And let's just face it, if it was CZ, China would, they wouldn't be too happy about that. So interesting. All right, we're gonna move on. This is a throwback clip from 2024. This is none other than Jamie Dimon talking about Bitcoin, and then we'll go flashback and then current, what's happening. Let's take a listen. This is the flashback 2024.
Crypto.
If you mean crypto like Bitcoin, I've always said it's a fraud.
No hope for it.
Well, if they think they're a currency, there's no hope for it. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a public, decentralized money.
Crypto.
It's a Ponzi scheme. Okay. JP Morgan today. JP Morgan to allow its institutional clients to use Bitcoin and Ether as collateral for loans as crypto continues to get absorbed into Wall Street's plumbing. So, how times have changed. Forrest, I can't help but to think that what would it have looked like, Forrest, if this was in place prior to October 10th, where that large liquidation happened? I don't know. It's a little strange. Any thoughts on this piece of news, Forrest?
No, just a good example of like people will only ever talk their books. These people that are, CEOs of banks or large, like Larry Fink and BlackRock doing a 180 on Bitcoin, they only ever talk their bags. Meaning, if you ask them about an asset that they have no exposure to, and let's just say that asset is going up in price, they will not say anything good about it. They might go and say something bad about it because they think money's going into that asset instead of their assets. They will talk, like anything these people say, like people think that because they're the CEO of a bank or because they're wealthy or have power or influence, whatever it is, that they should be, listening and paying attention to what they say and heeding their advice. But in reality, they are only going to ever say anything good about an asset that they own or have a way to make money off of it going up, or more people owning it. So now that that's in place for JP Morgan Chase, of course, they'll be fans of Bitcoin. Of course, they'll be fans of crypto if they can make money on this as a trend. But before they, back when this original video was taken, they didn't have any Bitcoin exposure. They didn't have any way to make money off of it. And because of that, everyone called it rat poison and said it was terrible.
It's always fun, right? Rob, what are your thoughts here?
Hey.
Isn't Jamie Dimon like your idol?
I love him, man. I love him.
He's a good man.
Yeah.
No, he's not.
It's not a good man.
He's not a good man.
No.
Why am I hearing you?
I don't know.
Interesting. Anyways, thoughts on on this news, JP Morgan, and also you can feel free to expand on your conspiracy. I think it's not that yeah.
Expand on my conspiracy?
Yeah, or, just talk about the JP Morgan Chase. The world is your oyster, my friend. You talk on it.
I would just say that, I don't know. Forrest is spot on.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. So, there you go.
All right. Polymarket is getting a token. What? Bow, 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 bow. Man, Forrest, the whole theme of crime is legal, right? Crime is legal. CoffeeZilla, shout out to you. We saw the NBA ring, the sting operation, 30 plus NBA players, coaches, executives, I don't know, maybe referees. They got caught up with La Cosa Nostra. It's the old school mafia in New York, and they were rigging games. And so anyways, and I said yesterday, I was like, be careful with predictions markets, because if it's something that is in the control of the person, there was one I saw where, will this person finish a 5 mile or a 5K marathon in under or over 23 minutes? Obviously, if you're that person and you have some sort of kind of following or influence on the internet, it could very easily be something persuaded. And so I would just tell people, be careful with prediction markets. Speaking of prediction markets, the CMO, Matthew Modaber, is essentially confirming a Polymarket token airdrop. Listen to this from Matthew.
There will be a token. There will be an airdrop. And look, I think we really pride ourselves on being the most thorough company we hope to be in the world, right? And when we do something, we want to do it really well. And I feel like, obviously we could have launched a token whenever we wanted, and it's just how thorough we want to be about it. Do we want it to be a flash in the pan, or do we want it to be a token with true utility, longevity, and it to be around forever, right? And that's what we expect from ourselves, and that's what I think everyone in the space expects from us. We are arguably one of the most mainstream crypto projects there is.
Forrest, are you at all trying to position yourself to get some of this airdrop, or do you think that, because they had that massive raise, I think they raised at a $2 billion, or no, they got a $2 billion investment from ICE, which is the company that essentially owns the New York Stock Exchange. So there's a lot of hype around this, Forrest. Are you trying to farm this airdrop? What's kind of your strategy once this thing does either get airdropped or the token goes live?
I'm not trying to farm it personally. I think the best way to do that, if you were going to do that, is to just arbitrage prediction markets. So if there's a difference between call sheet and Polymarket, just bet the difference on that. So you'd basically be making or losing a very small amount of money. So you bet yes on one platform, no on the other, to be hedged and pretty neutral. That way you could run up a lot of volume on Polymarket. But when you try to do that, sometimes some of these platforms don't want you to farm them, and maybe they'll give priority to people who have been using Polymarket since early days. I used it pretty early on, in the run up to the election. So hopefully I'll get an airdrop. I think it'll probably go out at a pretty super high valuation. But I think it'll probably be pretty similar to a lot of the new launches that we see, where there's a lot of hype initially, and then they kind of just drop off. Like Plasma, pretty good example of one that just ran super hard. Aster ran super hard, and then they just dropped 70%. So that's what I would expect out of Polymarket as well.
Forrest, I've said before that if crypto.com goes public, Coinbase will launch a Base token. I've said that before Jesse Pollock or anyone from Base said, we're looking into a token. If Polymarket, well, it sounds like they're going public and they're going to airdrop a coin, Coinbase is 100% going to have a token. There's going to be a Base token, a Base L2 token. I am sorry, but the only reason, in my opinion, there wasn't is because they were worried about legal issues. You're talking about the largest exchange in the United States with arguably a top 5 network in terms of volume, users, revenue, yada, yada. And now they have the option of, hey guys, you're free to essentially create money out of thin air. Billions of dollars, potentially. You think they're going to say no? 100%. Now there's like no shadow of a doubt in my mind that Coinbase will be launching a base token. I don't know what it's going to look like, airdrop, yada, yada. Of course, this is still speculation, but I feel very, very confident that Base will have their own token for their L2 on ETH. What does that mean for Ethereum? I could argue that's probably not good for Ethereum because now all those transactions, those gas fees that were paid in ETH are now being paid in the Base token if they set it up that way, which I don't see why they wouldn't. So just be prepared. I am also personally not farming the poly market. I think what Forrest brought up in terms of hedging is a great idea. You're essentially guaranteeing yourself profit if you get in at the right prices. People do that a lot in Vegas with sports books and sports betting. My cousin actually makes a lot of money doing that. Large positions, and they just find discrepancies across sports books, and they just essentially arb. They arb the trade. They don't give a shit who wins. If they win by 5, they don't. They make money either way because they've hedged themselves. All right. We're going to take a look at the markets for us. If you want to queue up a Bitcoin chart, I'm going to ask you for Bitcoin. And then if you don't mind, I'd like to look at BitTensor also. But taking a look at the markets today, we'll start with the crypto bubbles. The leaders today, MYX, which is a BNB token, COAI, which is also a BNB token. We've been crushing this scalping here. I haven't put in a trade in a couple days. Feels like a couple months. But we were scalping this thing, and we made some good money on this one. But this is Chain Opera AI again on BNB. MYX, those are your 2 biggest gainers. Zcash also up 6% on the day. Your biggest losers, World Liberty Finance down 7.9% on the day. PancakeSwap down 5.7% of the day. And Fetch AI up 4.2% on the day. There's a lot of drama happening between Fetch and Ocean. I'm leaning towards Ocean and Fetch and the founder Humayun Sheikh, so CEO of Fetch, that they were probably in the wrong from everything I've read so far. But I'm not, for me, it was like, hey, if it gets under 20 cents, maybe Ocean was the cancer in that organization, but it seems like they weren't. Seems like the cancer is the one that is currently heading up the project. So I'm staying away from this myself. But Forrest, when you look at BTC, it's currently at 110.5. We had a small rally up to 114 just a couple days ago, and then it sputtered and fell back down to like 109. What are you seeing on the Bitcoin chart for us? And what's the next move? What does that look like in your opinion?
Yeah, let me share my screen here, but let me also throw on IWM. Yeah, so Bitcoin and so IWM is the Russell 2000. That's the blue line here. And then, over here is Bitcoin. This is the weekly chart. The two are like extraordinarily correlated. We've seen some correlation breakdowns before, and we've seen, that's what we're undergoing right now. Bit of a correlation breakdown, but especially altcoins really listen to the Russell 2000. So IWM is what matters. IWM is this blue line, and it is trying to break out into all-time highs right now. This is the bull case if you see IWM continue to go up. I live streamed for the first time in a while yesterday off my channel. And I was basically just saying that this is the only thing to pay attention to. You can look at like liquidity, global liquidity, and all these different indicators, and you look at, how is the stock market, how is, everything else doing? Are there rate cuts or whatever? All of that is noise in comparison to how much correlation there is with IWM. If we see a rotation from large cap stocks, which have been dominating, to low cap stocks, IWM, Russell 2000, if we see that rotation happen, you will very, very likely see that rotation bleed into crypto, because a lot of the same a lot of crypto projects are about in the 1 billion to 5 billion market cap range, which is where most of the stocks in the Russell 2000 are valued at. So yeah, Bitcoin right now, it's in the short term kind of diverging a little bit away. We're starting to see this kind of peel downwards while IWM breaks out, but I would expect these to resync. And if these resync and IWM continues to break out, then you probably see Bitcoin and crypto follow and do pretty well. The other chart worth taking a peek at here is IWM versus the S&P 500. Which is kind of a messy chart, but it's worth taking a peek at. We are in this huge wedge. Let me throw on the Bitcoin chart as well to compare. Bitcoin does well, and I actually need to get the full Bitcoin chart. So Bitcoin, crypto, and you can see I've already got all these circled or whatever. These bull markets, these green highlighted areas, that is where IWM versus the S&P 500 goes up. So this chart at the bottom here, that's basically just one big rainbow, one big arc, started in, after the dot-com bubble, went up, and then kind of arced back down. That is IWM versus the S&P 500. When this is going up, that means low cap stocks are outperforming large caps. We have been in a low cap bear market, meaning all the large caps, Nvidia, Meta, Facebook, Netflix, Mag 7, Tesla, all have been outperforming low caps, right? And that's why we've not really seen a big blow off move out of Bitcoin since 2021. Right, the last real bit. I know we've been in a bull market because it's been creeping upwards, but the last time we saw Bitcoin, Bitcoin ran from like 20K to 42K almost overnight last cycle, and we haven't really had anything like that this cycle where Bitcoin's just gone ballistic. That's in large part because low caps, the speculative, risky stocks, have been underperforming Mag 7. If you can buy Meta or buy Netflix or buy Spotify or buy, Nvidia and make 50% a year or 40% per year and outperform everything else, then why take the risk of being in low caps if the large caps are absolutely, giving huge returns and they're much, quote unquote, safer than going into low cap stocks? Why, if Nvidia is going to give you 40% a year returns, why would you buy a low cap stock? Why, 40% is phenomenal, even considering inflation. Now IWM versus the S&P 500 has come down to its original support. It's done a full retrace, and even if this continues downwards, you would at least expect a cup and handle, like an inverse cup and handle, and you'd expect some sort of a bounce out of this wedge. So my expectation is that IWM here over the next year or two could do really well, and we could get some low cap pumps, and that would probably translate to a Bitcoin bull market. At least we would hope, or a crypto bull market. So that's the main thing I'm looking at for Bitcoin. I think it's and for crypto in general. I think it's the single most important thing. Just to recap on the IWM chart itself, IWM is trying to break to all-time highs. And every time historically that it has pushed to all-time highs, right? You'll see the last time it did this, when was this? This was the last Bitcoin bull market. Bitcoin started running. I'll throw Bitcoin back on real quick before we move on. Last cycle, where did Bitcoin break out? Bitcoin didn't break out and start running until IWM took out its all-time high. Bitcoin was still at 15K, and then it ended up running to north of $60,000 as IWM low cap stocks were ripping to all-time highs. IWM has only just now taken out its 2021 all-time high. So if Bitcoin was perfectly correlated, if Bitcoin was right in line with IWM, then the fair price of Bitcoin now would be $65,000, $70,000. But Bitcoin's outperformed IWM by a little bit, and it's up towards north of 100K. Well, if IWM can kick it into high gear and Bitcoin can outperform IWM, then we potentially have, a strong case for a bull market to be made. So yeah, that's the main thing I'm looking at. I think you just keep a real close eye on IWM, and the red flag for me is if IWM deviates and comes back below this all-time high and starts closing candles down here, breaking down, then I don't think you want to be in anything. I don't think you want to be in the stock market. I don't think you want to be in crypto if IWM starts collapsing. Last time IWM collapsed, throw this back on, just last thing, just to show you what Bitcoin did here in the green. Oops, there we go. Bitcoin went from 110K, I think is where it topped out at, 110, 111. Came all the way down to 77 as IWM was crashing in April. So if IWM crashes, you want to probably play Bitcoin pretty conservatively, play crypto pretty conservatively. But yeah, that's my take.
Very interesting. I love that analogy. Good job, man. That was great. So looks like that trend line kind of got flipped, yeah? So are you expecting that IWM chart to maybe get a little more of a push to the upside for us?
So I'm 50-50 on that too, which isn't helpful because I look at the IWM chart and I see it breaking to all-time highs and I'm bullish. I have a friend who is a quant who has pretty sophisticated models who also called the January top in stocks and crypto with his models. And his models are showing IWM crashing super hard in the next couple weeks, which is not what I want to hear. That being said, his models also showed a crash a couple months ago, and they were wrong, and Bitcoin ended up pushing to all-time highs, or maybe it was a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, kind of 50-50 there. I could see either one playing out, but it's one of those things where, all right, if something big happens, something negative happens geopolitically and IWM crashes or, China and Trump can't make a deal, I don't know what it would be. But if IWM starts crashing, that'll be my signal to kind of maybe cut some crypto and look to buy lower until IWM can start pushing again.
Very interesting. I love that. Love that analysis. Forrest, can we take a peek at a BitTensor chart? So you guys know I'm a pretty big BitTensor bull, currently in a BitTensor trade. 379 was our entry, currently 11% in the profit. But this thing had a massive rally, right, on the daily. It had broken out, then the large liquidation event on the 10th. Broke out again, got all the way up to, this time failed to take out that high though, got up to 460. Previous high was 477. And it's kind of consolidating, but it's catching support again at its 50% fib level, seeing a nice bounce again. Last time it got down here, open to high was a 23% move. Can we get something similar? Looks like this one is more of a slower rise. If anything, maybe coming into a little bit of a bear flag pattern with a measured move if this does happen. Let's say it happens from the 50. Measured move is 289. I don't expect that to happen, but you never know. Forrest, what are you seeing on your BitTensor chart? What are some key levels that people need to look out for?
Yeah, so BitTensor, we have this massive wedge, massive flag. It broke out. So of course, right there, as you can see, I longed that breakout right before the large crash. We weren't incorrect about it being bullish. It was just a market anomaly happened.
Same.
It is what it is. That's the risk you take when you trade. But yeah, this pattern, even though we had that liquidation, this pattern is still very much in play. It bounced back. I'm personally not long right now, but I still think it's a good long. I still think it's a great chart and was one of the first coins to snap back after that liquidation occurred. Now it's just trying to find kind of an equilibrium point. So you have a high and a lower high. You have a low and trying to form a higher low here. A little bit of an inverse head and shoulders maybe forming around 380, 380 support, give or take. And essentially what you want to see for continuation here is you want to see like one more maybe lower high and then a higher low and then a move upwards, then a breakout. So if I was looking for an entry here, I'd actually prefer to buy it a little bit higher on a confirmed, stronger, higher low versus buying now. And then you potentially put in a slightly higher low or even maybe a lower low because technically we do have a lower high, right? And we could potentially come down here for an ABC correction. retest the top of this wedge again, and then all of a sudden you're underwater, $50. If you're already in, you're already up on the trade, by all means, let's just set a stop loss and profit. But if you're not in, like me, I would rather, wait for this strength to confirm, wait for this inverse head and shoulders to come up, let it run into that trend line resistance, pull back a little bit, and then look to buy a breakout. That's how I would go about trading this. Versus just buying here. You could potentially buy, if I zoomed in here, you could, for like a lower time frame trade, you could make the argument, hey, this is potentially a range neckline. There's your left shoulder, there's kind of a double bottom head, and then this is forming a right shoulder. If this comes back up and starts breaking out here, you could potentially look to buy in on a break of this range high too. So multiple ways to go about it. For me, it's in a bit of a no trade zone, but I do think it's a bullish biased chart that is breaking out of its larger pattern and can run significantly higher if the market permits.
Awesome. I know I mentioned that I was going to go over this, but we're going to cut the show, and I will go over this on the trading show. And so, if you stay in the chat, you'll be redirected. I'll be going live in about 10 minutes. And this is kind of what I posted on X. I think it's something helpful for people. And I'll share what my top 3 high conviction alts are on that show. Also, before we go, Forrest, if you'd like to tell people, you have a lot of great insight. Where do you typically publish that insight, and where can people find it?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Sistine Research. And there you can find a link to our Towns community where we just post charts, post trades, post research. It's a paid community, but I think it's well worth the price if you stick around long enough. We've had some incredible calls in there. You're probably not going to make money the day you join unless the market's in a really good place. But you might, who knows? I think the market could be about to start kicking it into high gear here. Actually, just right before I jumped on, I don't even think I posted it in the community yet, but I did take a circle along. Just something's afoot. Something. Spidey senses are tingling on circle with those insider buys. We'll see if that works out, but I'll probably post it there shortly. But at Sistine Research on Twitter, and then you can join our Towns community where there's actually multiple, not just me, multiple analysts that are profitable long-term traders and investors that have done really well in this space and really know their stuff. So feel free to join there. Yeah, I'm actually in there as well, and we gave a couple bangers to the Towns people. One of them was Wire. And so there's a few other ones. But yeah, guys, I'll actually drop this link in the comment section so you guys can go check it out. All right, we are done. Forrest, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you have a great weekend. Before we let you go, we need a price prediction. Monday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. What is the price of Bitcoin? Circle's going to be 300. And then price prediction, 112.5. I was thinking 112 too. I'll go 113 too. I'm a little more bullish. I think we'll see a little bit of a pump Saturday and then Sunday as well. And then we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Either way, Gina, roll the outro. I want to thank you all very much for joining us. Stay here because you'll be redirected to the trading show where I'll break down my top positions. We'll look at some charts. We'll have some fun. Kick us off in the weekend. Love you guys. See you in 10 minutes. Sin City, crypto. Everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Name the coin that's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy a dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming hola till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I?
Don't be letting FOMO control ya.